that there are no program handouts for this session. There's a lot of other propaganda on the table, but no program handouts for this session. We don't like to kill trees if we don't have to. So, if you would like a copy of the information, if you'd like anything further, whether it's the whole presentation or notes or whatever, please leave me a business card at the end of the session. I will see that you get everything. If you have a flash drive with you, I can probably even take care of you now. Okay? Now, in the meantime, if you have any other questions or you want to engage in the conversation, please feel free. I'm perfectly okay with you just standing up, raising a hand, and having a conversation about any of this. So, after all these years, we kind of figured out that Santa's learned a thing or two about making the most out of the holiday season. And that's really what you're here for, is to learn how to make the most out of what you have. Here's a few of the little pearls of wisdom that my team has picked up from our friend Santa. Points about your business, lessons for your team, lessons for sales success, and lessons about leadership. Those of you who are business owners, you'll be listening to this with one set of ears. Those of you who are salespeople, you'll be listening to it with another set of ears. But the message is the same in both directions. Let me start with Santa's lessons for your business this holiday season. What do you really need to know? I need to know that I have to remember to point this thing that way. There we go. First lesson, timing is everything. You know, the season only comes once a year. Why is it? We know when it comes every year. It comes the same time every year, but every year it kind of creeps up on us, doesn't it? All of a sudden we realize, geez, it's fourth quarter already. Well, how'd that happen? Well, it had to do with the 3 quarters before it, probably. But it creeps up on us. It only comes once a year. You got one shot. As a representative in this industry, you got a lot to do and you've got very little time to do it. Truth is, this is no time for a long winter's nap. This is the time to kick it into gear and to start paying attention to every little detail. Now, these next 2 months, September and October, believe it or not, are 2 of the most important months in your year. This is when you're building the momentum. What have you done all year to capture the information on the clients that you've picked up throughout the year so that you can bring them back during November and December? If you haven't done anything and you've got events scheduled for September and October, now is the time to kick that into high gear. Those are the people that are going to come back. Right, momentum is everything. This is not the time to slow down. When you only have one shot during the year, you got to make it your best. You got to put your best foot forward. Is everybody rested and ready? Do you have it all put together to the point where everybody is right on the edge of their game? This is game on, folks. One shot to make it your best. Keep in mind also that the holiday season brings out the unaccustomed shopper. Those people that shop only once a year. You're getting folks that need to see the best you have. One time and one time only. The holiday season is when you see a lot of people who've never been in your store before. So you got that one shot to make that first impression. First impressions last even when you're crazy busy. That unaccustomed shopper doesn't cut you much slack for being real busy and not getting to them. You know what I'm talking about? The person who's your loyal customer, who's been with you for a long, long time, who shops with you regularly, when they see that you're really very busy, they cut you a little bit of a break for not being right there to take care of them right away, don't they? That person who's never been in before, they either feel like they're not important enough, or that you're just too busy to take care of them anyway, so you lose them. All right, keep an eye out for that unaccustomed shopper and make that first impression. There's no one more important than the person right in front of you. Now you see, this is something I see in stores all the time in the holiday season. Every salesperson. How many of you are salespeople? How many of you have your really great customers that you recognize as soon as they walk in the door? Now what happens if you're one of those $29 pendant people and you see one of your great customers walk in? Your eyes get this big? I'm not suggesting for a minute that you'd ever just dump the person you're with, although some haven't seen it. Okay, but if the person on the other end of the counter knows what just happened, you blew it. If that $29 pen customer knows that somebody more important just walked in because of your reaction or your expression, that's a problem. It's really fine to look up, smile, and say hello, but you got to make sure that the person in front of you understands that they are the most important person in your world right then and there, regardless of what they're buying. Lessons for your business: make a list and check it twice. biggest reason people go full-blown crazy during this holiday season is because they don't have a plan. Plan your work and work your plan. Make the most out of the time that you have and what you have every day. Delegate. Business owners, get that list and make sure everybody's got a job to do. If you're running around trying to do everything, nothing's going to get done. If everyone else is just standing around waiting for the next customer to come in while you're running around doing everything, you're going to get frustrated, they're going to get annoyed, and still nothing's going to get done. Have a plan. Start every day with a plan. Get the work part done early in the day. You know what your traffic patterns are like. Those first 2 hours, from the time you open, typically till about noon on most days, in most stores are a little quieter. That's when you stack the work. Don't try to do everything when the customers are coming through the door. Never works out. Things fall through the cracks. City sidewalks are busy sidewalks this time of year. Your customers are back in the spending game. Have you noticed? They're back in the game. This season, I'm going to give you a full-out prediction here. This season is going to be the best holiday season you've seen in the last 5 years or longer. People are tired of not spending money. They're tired of worrying about what's coming next. I don't care who wins the election. Frankly, it doesn't matter. Whatever happened, everybody's all nervous about this. It doesn't matter. The truth is, once it's over and done, you've got a whole month and a half between the time that happens and Christmas. It's not going to take a month and a half for people to settle into whatever they're expecting to happen or not expecting to happen. It's going to get done. They're tired of not spending money. They're tired of being on the other end of getting that less than stellar gift. You're going to see traffic, you're going to see people looking for value, and you're going to see a lot more people out than you've seen before. Keep that in mind. People are back in the spending game. Don't disappoint them. On the other hand, there's far more competition than ever before for your consumer's dollar. And it's not just in the jewelry industry. Some of you have heard me say this before. The days when all you have to do is be better than the other jeweler are gone. You got to be better than Starbucks. What does that mean? What does Starbucks have? What is the one thing that Starbucks has that keeps people paying $3 for a cup of coffee? Consistency. I can walk into a Starbucks anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. And when I tell them that I want a grande skim latte, 2 Splenda, no foam, it's going to come out exactly the same. I don't care if I'm in Tokyo or in Bangor, Maine. Consistency. Okay? The more competition that's out there, you've got to recognize it's setting the standard for your customer. When I talk about consistency, the luxury customer gets at Starbucks, that's the consistency they expect from anyone with whom they're choosing to do business. The experience of the delivery of an absolute beginning level luxury automobile, the least expensive Mercedes, the least expensive Lexus, the least expensive Acura, the delivery experience for that young gentleman buying his first car is over the top. If you've ever had that experience, it's nothing short of amazing. And they don't care at those automobile dealerships if you're buying their top of the line or their entry level. The experience is the same. That's your standard. They walk into your door with a standard of luxury shopping that's beyond the jewelry store. The young woman who walks in your door wants you to make her feel absolutely as wonderful about being there as the little girl can do in Victoria's Secret when she pays $40 for a pair of underwear. Now that makes no sense. But it's the quality of the experience and how you make the customer feel that drives the whole purchase. There's more competition than ever before, and that competition is setting the standard for you. You have to earn loyalty by making it all about the customer, not about the product, not about the price, all about the customer. And every time I hear somebody say, oh, customers are just not loyal anymore, this new generation of customers, they're just not loyal. Not loyal because you haven't earned it. If customers are not loyal to you, it's because you haven't earned it yet. Figure out how to earn their loyalty, and you'll have them. Understand and communicate real value. And real value is not about your product. It's about how you service the customer's needs. How you find a way to to see that what you have suits what they need. Get beyond red wagons and baby dolls. Santa figured this one out a long time ago. Are you a trend follower or are you a trendsetter? Are you the store that waits until somebody else tests out the new product and makes sure it's proven before you try it? Or are you the one that sticks your neck out and says, I know this is good for my business, I know I can make this work, I have a reputation in this market, and I can drive fashion, I can drive a product in my market? Because if all you're doing is hanging on to the red wagon and baby dolls, hanging on to the same stuff you put out there year after year after year, you're going to die. It's not going to work for you. The customer's looking for innovation. They're looking for something that represents new and exciting. That doesn't mean you ditch everything that's basic. It means you pick your head up and look for what's new. If everyone who looked at, I'm not going to use a brand name now, silver beads on a bracelet 5 years ago and blew it off because it was dumb, stupid, and ugly, if every one of those people who thought that had an opportunity to do it over again, millions of dollars later, do you not figure they would? How many of you would? That's the way you got to look at this. The innovators have it. How strong are you in your marketplace? First thing you got to do is know what the customer wants. Changing customer needs. You got to be on the edge of the game. The electronics world, anybody in the electronics world right now that isn't thinking about Evo or iPad mini, iPad what? I just got used to the big one. That's old news, people. And the electronics folks know that. Evo. Forget about Xbox. Evo's got the technology. Did you know that, David? Evo's got this technology nailed. And they're blowing away the other guys who've been at it forever. What does that mean to you? That means for our industry, staying out in front, looking for what it is that's going to capture your customer's attention, and not being afraid to put your brand reputation on the line. Are you the store in town who, if you raise the flag and say, this is a great product to have, that everybody in your town is going to line up around the corner to get it because you say it's cool? Your brand represents that level of influence and fashion? If it doesn't, you got to figure out how to get there. Within your own customer base, start there. What do you represent to your own customer? There are several brands in our industry, again, I won't mention any names, who I'm going to say about 10 years ago, one in particular about 10 years ago, had nothing. They had 22 doors and a really cool product. And what they did was look long and hard in every market they could find. Not for the biggest store, but for the most influential store. For the store who had the reputation of having the cool stuff in town. And when they put that product in the store and the store people got behind that product, every customer that walked in the door was shown that product, and before you knew it, 3 years later, they had over 400 doors. And they're one of the largest brands in this industry. Influential doors, you gotta be one of them. And you get on the edge. You understand that the customer is changing. The customer is really in charge. We're not in charge, the customer is in charge. What do they want? What are they looking for? And how can you go about supplying it? Keep in mind that the way it's always been is not the way it is today. If you're still walking around saying this is the way we've always done it, you got to get past it. Because this is not the same customer. This customer is looking for new, different, innovative, exciting. Check for fire before jumping down the chimney. Santa figured that one out a time or two of doing it. You know, trouble comes at unexpected times. You know how that goes. Everything's going along real smoothly. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, something blows up in your face. You have contingency plans. If you're ready, if you get a look before you leap. But at the same time, if you're ready, you can't let anything throw you. At this stage of the game, this time of year, if you let anything throw you off your game, you lose the whole day. Something goes crazy first thing in the morning, and you don't have the mindset that nothing terrible is going to happen because there isn't anything you can't handle, and you can't get it smoothly fixed early on, you waste the whole day. What does the whole day's business cost you in the middle of December? And business owners don't think for a minute that being frazzled and fried because something went wrong in the morning doesn't impact your entire team for the whole day. They know you. They watch you. If you're on edge, if you're not comfortable with what's going on, if something is dragging you down, your whole team goes with it. So have a plan. Look and know what's going to happen. You know, Think through your decisions to a logical conclusion and get the job done. All right, this is not the time of year for tactic management. You got to stop long enough to say, if I do this, what happens next, then what happens next, then what happens next. Because most times of the year, if something goes wrong, you can throw a Band-Aid on it and figure out it'll be okay for a little while. But this time of year, things are accelerated. So anything that's going to go wrong further down the line happens a lot quicker. You've got to think everything through to its logical conclusion, put a solution in place, and get the job done. Now let's talk about Santa's lessons for your team. What does Santa teach you about working with your team and the team you have? Lesson number 1, keep a happy workshop. Keep a wonderful workshop. And this applies to everybody. Everybody who works in a business has a responsibility for helping to keep that business up, moving, and happy. I don't know where the station is on the show floor, but there's a station where I talk about a video about keeping a wonderful workshop. Take a look at that video, because we put a lot of thought into what it takes to get it done. Keep the environment positive and comfortable for people. What can you do, all of you, anybody, what can you do to make your environment more positive, happier, more comfortable for the people around you every day for the next few months? Anything. Anything you can think of to do. If it's bringing in a bag of candy one day, it's amazing how little things make a big difference. And if everybody takes responsibility for it, it goes a lot faster and a lot easier. Keep focused on people as well as on tasks. Focus on the people around you. And let your values be your guide. Let your values be your guide. You know, if your business values stipulate that you go way out of your way to make the experience wonderful for your customers, do you start with your employees? Because if you're not, you're probably spinning your wheels. It's hard to get a bunch of people to make an experience wonderful for your employees if they don't feel like the experience is wonderful for them. There we go. Choose your reindeer partners wisely, business owners. Choose your reindeer wisely. Rely on the right people for the right reasons. All right, if you have jobs to do, make sure you're distributing the work. Keep in mind that fair and equal are not the same thing. Distributing things equally, lots of times, is not fair to people. Whether it's tasks, work that needs to be done. Distributing work fairly means that you're giving the right tasks to the right people and letting everyone work to their very best. Remember the diversity advantage also when you're picking your reindeer partners for this holiday season. For those of you who do hire extra help for the holiday season, regardless of whether they're couriers, they're polishers in your shop, they're greeters, they're salespeople, whatever it is that you do, if you're bringing extra people for the holiday season, remember the diversity advantage. What do I mean by that? I cannot tell you how many times I walk into a store and have it flatly amaze me how everybody in the store looks alike. It's not because they're family. We tend to hire people who are most like ourselves. It's human nature. But just think about that. How much of a benefit would you get by sticking your neck out just a little bit and that person that you struggle with in an interview because you're just not sure about that personality? Could it be that that's because they just aren't quite like you? And maybe there is little room for that? I don't know. But it's definitely worth looking at. And share the load graciously. This is the best time of year to learn to delegate. Don't worry about giving away some of the stuff you have to do, because people are going to be able to do it for you, and they're going to be able to help you out. And by all means, share the milk and cookies. So lessons from Santa, remember, that's why they're kind of goofy that way. Recognize that every person on your team makes a difference. Everybody. If your salespeople are selling more, your jeweler's working harder. If your salespeople are moving more product, your bookkeeper's working harder. It's not just about the people on the floor. Recognize that every person on your team makes a difference, and do right by those who do right. Hard to remember sometimes, but if somebody does something nice for you, how hard is it to say thank you? Well, we all do that. No, we really don't. We get busy, we forget. Push it front of mind. Take a little post-it note and stick it on the top of your computer screen, and all it needs to say is thank you. Just to remind you to say thank you to the people around you. And this applies to everybody, not just business owners. Salespeople, team members, say thank you to the people around you. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to do a little favor for somebody. If you see that somebody's struggling, if you see that a coworker is struggling with an issue, with having a time situation that needs to be resolved, anything, what could you do to help? Now, this is the hardest thing this time of year. Things happen. Somebody's kid gets sick and they got to go to school to pick them up. What do you do with that? Your store's full of people. You got to let them. What can you do? Well, there's a lot of things you can do if everybody on the team pitches in to help. Okay, just pay attention and do right. Adopt an attitude of gratitude. Reinforce the positive. I learned that from my good friend Clyde Bailey in North Carolina. An attitude of gratitude. Are you thankful for every day? For every person who walks through your door? For every person you work with? For the opportunity to share in some of the most significant emotional moments in people's lives? Are you really grateful for that? Because if you're not, you're in the wrong business. Do you really appreciate every minute? You know, there are people who go to work every day and hate it. They just hate it. I just had an amazing experience. I'm going off script here a little bit. I got to tell you about this. I had an amazing experience this past week. I had the privilege of visiting with the folks at the Stillwater Mining Company in Montana. It's the only platinum group metals mine in the United States, one of only 5 in the world. Who knew? Who knew that we mine platinum and palladium here in the U.S.? We do. Pretty big mine. It's a very big mine. It's a huge operation. It's a very large company on a worldwide scale. And while I was there, I got to tour the mine, got to tour all the refinery, and I had the whole experience, beginning to end. It was fabulous. But you know what was most fabulous? And nothing delighted me more than to be able to say this to the CEO of Stillwater Mining, Frank McAllister, when it was all over. I was so impressed by every person that we talked to there. The guys, the miners that were giving us the tour, they were talking about their new equipment, they were talking about their company. The sense of pride that every one of these people had in who they were, what they were doing, and the company they worked for was nothing short of amazing. And it wasn't like it was scripted. Even now, in a tour guide, you would expect that. But these are people who've been around for 25, 30 years with this company. They were pulling guys off the line and saying, tell us what you do. And these people were talking with an incredible pride in a company that takes great responsibility for the environment, that has a reputation that's stellar in their industry, for innovation, for technology, for environmental responsibility, for good neighbor policies with everyone around them. They're proud of this. And that's what came through loud and clear. Do you get that in your store? Do you have that for your business? Does everyone that works with you have that? That attitude of gratitude that brings about a level of pride in who you are and what you do. Because that changes your attitude. That changes the way you look at going to work every day. It really does, and it changes the way your customers respond. Incentives don't pay. No, incentives are kind of nice too, by the way. But that's what the video is all about. It's how to create incentives that actually work in this environment with this attitude. Remember, the guiding the sleigh should be a joint effort. Different needs require different abilities. Look at what you need in your store. Make sure you're suiting the opportunity to the right people. Get the right people doing the right things. And look for the right glow. Look for what makes people happy. Have you ever seen someone that had someone in your store that works with you that when they're doing a particular task, for some people it's looking at a diamond, for other people it's displaying a showcase. You look at them and when they're doing that task, they just have a glow about them. They just love it. Look for ways to reinforce that. Look for ways to get the job done using people who love what they're doing to do it. And don't be afraid to be both a leader and a follower. Every single day you'll meet somebody who knows more about something than you do. Your job is to figure out what it is. If a day goes by that you haven't learned something new from someone, you've wasted a day. You got to be a leader and a follower. Let the people around you learn from you, but don't be afraid to learn from the people around you. This is my all-time favorite lesson from Santa. If you're not the lead reindeer, the view never changes. I'm going to give you a minute to look at that slide and figure out what I mean by that. If you're not the lead reindeer, the view never changes. If you're not out in front, what are you looking at the whole time? Are you the best at something? Are you the best at anything? Are you the best at something that you do that you can stake a claim in your market, and that's what brings people to your door? What can you do in your business that you can be the best in the world at? Well, that's a pretty lofty goal. Well, here's the thing. If you're not shooting for the top, you're going to hit somewhere below the middle. You know anything about archery? When you aim at an archery target, you don't aim at the target. You aim above it. Always aim above your target. Because by the time the trajectory, forget about archery, because by the time the trajectory hits, it's going to drop down a little. There's science behind that, but it's reality. Thoreau said the same thing. That's a famous quote from Thoreau. To hit your target, you must aim above it. What can you be the best in the world at doing for your business? Leaders go where no one has gone before. Leaders look for ways to be the very best. Think innovation. Think of ways to transform what you do every day to make it new and to make it different. So far, we talked about your business and your people. Now let's talk about sales. Santa's lessons for sales success. Keep your eye on the star. You set sales goals for everybody? Does anybody here operate a store where you don't have sales goals? For individuals and for your team? Good. You gotta have goals. Keep your eye on the stars. Set your sights on a lofty goal. How do you calculate your sales goals? Are you looking at a piece of paper and saying, well, I think when you do 7% ahead of last year, 10% ahead of last year. Are you basing your goals on last year? That seems to be a real habit in this industry. How many of you do that? Let last year be your guide. Why? Why not look forward? Why not look at what's out there, what's possible? Why not look at what's in your market? Get some solid numbers. If you're working with an advertising firm, they should be able to get these for you. If not, there's lots of other places you can look them up. How big is your market? Your goals should be based on how much you want of it, not on how much more you can do than last year. If I set my goal at 10% over last year, and the whole market takes off and everybody else does 20% more, did I win or lose? Set your goals based on potential, not based on history. And don't ever lose focus on the goal. Whether it's a sales goal, a profit goal, however you set your goals, don't lose focus. Stay focused on the goal. Remind people of it every day. Report on progress. I don't care if it's something like a hokey little candy cane in your back room that you color every day. That lets people know where they stand. Stay focused. Keep that star shiny too. What's at the end of the rainbow for this goal? What happens if we hit the goal? It's not just about everybody getting a pile of money. What does it mean for your business? What does it mean for your business if you hit that lofty goal for the holiday season? What will happen? They need to know that. Everybody needs to know that. That should be the shared information. It's got to go beyond we get our bills paid. Because what happens if you get your bills paid? All of a sudden you have opportunity. You have opportunity to do something that you might not have been able to do before. Whether it's adding new lines of merchandise, fixing the carpet, I mean, whatever it is. There's got to be something, and it doesn't have to be huge. Don't forget about the 5 gold rings. There's something to be said for multiple anything. Emotional gifts have the biggest impact. Remember that, because that's what your customers are coming to you for. Makes sense to the customer to buy gifts that have real lasting value, as opposed to, let's see, partridge in a pear tree and you know the whole story. There's a million things people can buy for gifts, but it makes perfect sense to buy things that have real lasting value. Precious metals, gemstones. Now, if you add up real lasting value with emotional gift and impact, it makes it pretty easy to make the case to the customer, doesn't it? A big part of this is knowing how to attract the customer in the first place. How many of you will make phone calls this holiday season? Reaching out to your customers. How many of you won't? Let's do it backwards. Nobody's brave enough to admit it. Everybody likes to say they will, but they won't. Nobody likes to make those calls. But you should. You really should. Well, can't we email? You could. But you should always follow it up with a conversation. You can email on a large scale, but some people need a conversation. The conversation is very, very important. Right? The conversation is my opportunity to talk about. My opportunity is my opportunity to talk about real, lasting value. When you call, if you don't make a call, and I'm the customer, I'm sitting home thinking I can't afford to buy jewelry this year. I don't have a big holiday budget this year. I can't afford it. So I don't even come in. I see your email, but I can't afford it. What happens if you make the call? And I say, jewelry's just not in my budget this year. The right answer is, I can certainly understand that. For a lot of folks, it's been kind of tight. But you know what? If you're going to buy a gift anyway, for whatever price, why not buy one that has real lasting value? Because we can provide real lasting value, precious metals, gemstones, things that last for a lifetime. In any price range you can think of, starting as low as whatever your starting price point is. See, if you don't pick up the phone and call me, you never get that message out. I either don't come in because I think I can't, or I see your email and I still think I can't. See how that works? Reach out to people. I know you can't call through your entire client list, but when you start hearing people say things like, it's been so slow, that's when I get annoyed, because if it's that slow, yeah, you really can call through your whole client list. Pick a pony. If you're going to complain about it being slow, don't tell me you can't do it. The reason you don't have traffic is because you're not making traffic. Emotional gifts that make an impact. And remember that more is better. Don't forget the add-ons. Add-ons create heroes. For the people that come in your store to buy a particular item, they come in to buy an item, that's the expected part. You want to make them a hero? Let them take home something that's not expected. Be ready. It's not pushy. Nobody likes to be a pushy salesperson. It's not pushy to create a hero. That's your job. And you create a hero by letting them leave with something they didn't expect to leave with. A little extra. It doesn't have to be huge. Don't shoot for the moon. Or maybe. But don't miss the opportunity. Your job is to turn your customers into heroes. Santa knows better. Good things come in your packages. What do I mean by that? Your brand experience is what turns a single visit into a lifetime of loyalty. Your brand experience. What do you promise your customers? What is your brand promise? Now would be a real good time to make sure everybody around you, every salesperson, your jewelers, your bookkeepers, your office people, everyone in your store understands what your brand promise really means. It's what makes you stand out. It's what keeps people coming back. And consistency in the delivery of that brand promise is absolutely essential. So make sure everybody knows what it is. Little gestures are important. What are the little things that set you apart? I know a couple of stores that go way over the top and out of their way with their gift wrapping. During the holiday season, they employ 3 full-time people. They're high school kids that come in after school, or people that come in the morning and for shifts, simply to wrap gifts, because their gift wrap is their signature. And it's not good enough just to throw a pretty piece of paper on with a ribbon for these folks. Not for everybody. But it's a little gesture. For other stores, it's something extra in the bag. Be innovative. Think of what it is that can be that little gesture that supports your brand promise and that makes it right. Because the name on the box really does make a difference. And it doesn't matter what's in the box in terms of price point. We talk a lot about the fact that the Mercedes-Benz automobile line, the most expensive automobile they make is in excess of $350,000 to $400,000, and the least expensive is less than $30,000. You know what those two vehicles have in common? The hood ornament. And the sign over the driveway. So whether it's $29 or $29,000, or hundreds of thousands of dollars, you gotta make it right. And you've got to take those little gestures into consideration. The name on the box and the wrapping and the ribbon matter. The end appearance of the whole thing. It's definitely time of the season for Jingle Bell Rocks. Do you have somebody on your team whether it's you or someone else, that has a genuine, honest, sincere passion for diamonds. Bottom line, we are in the diamond business. In some way, shape, or form or another, we are in the diamond business. We are the people business, really. But it revolves around diamonds. You gotta have a passion, a real passion for the product. Not just fashion jewelry, not just bridal jewelry, not just the look, the feel, a passion for the miracle of nature that's sitting in your showcase. I had the privilege of sitting in on an interview with a retailer, somebody that they are trying desperately to hire right now. And this young woman has got the most amazing passion for diamonds. She loves them, and she's not afraid to talk about it. You get somebody like that, or let someone like that show that passion on your team, and you've got a real winning start. Don't be afraid to show big. Let your customers play, let them try on, let them look. But don't be afraid to show big. Can't tell you how often we secret shop a store and we'll ask to see a diamond of some sort, in a pendant or in a ring, and not be specific about price or quality or anything like that. Just, I want a nice pendant for my daughter, it's got to be special. And they'll bring me out something in the, I don't know, $1,500 price range, maybe a third of a carat, a half a carat, or something like that in a pendant. Why? What is the worst that can happen if you bring me out the most spectacular piece you've got? Well, that's beautiful, but it's not exactly what I had in mind. Not a problem. What you most love about this, the dazzle, the beauty, the diamond, the symbolism, everything that makes it special, we've got it in a wide variety of price ranges. Let's try something more suitable for you. But in the meantime, I've been dazzled. What's the best that could happen? Cool, I'll take it. But you love it when that happens. I think that would happen a whole lot more often if we let it. But we don't. We're afraid. We're afraid. Don't be afraid. Customers want to spend money. I really think the biggest reason that the average ticket in this industry, I'm on my political speech stand right now, the biggest reason that the average ticket in this industry has not escalated far faster and far higher than it has in the past several years is because we have an industry full of stores that have filled themselves up with $500 and under items because that's what everybody told them the customer wants. And we're afraid to show the big stuff because we're afraid that they're not going to want to spend the money, and we don't want them to be intimidated, we don't want them to be afraid, so they never get to see the really good stuff unless they walk up to a showcase and point to it and say, "Can I see that?" Step up. Now's the time. Get excited. Expect that everybody walking in your door wants the best you have, regardless of the price category. I want to see the best you got. If I have $200 in my pocket, I want to know the best that you can show me for $200. If I have $200,000, I want the best that you can show me for that, but you're never going to know that if all you're showing me is the $200. Now's the time. Show big and show more and be excited. If you are not jumping out of your skin excited about what you're doing and what you're showing, why should your customer be? If all it is more stuff to show, you're bored and they're bored. Why would they put money on the table for it? It's all about surprise and delight. Whatever experience you deliver has got to be about surprise and delight. Unexpected gestures make the greatest impact. If I buy a $5,000 item from a store, I expect a thank you note. If I have a battery changed in my watch, I don't expect a thank you note. So when I get it, you know what? I'm impressed. Unexpected gestures. We can't send a note to everybody. We don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, you got to be doing as much business as you can possibly handle, right? I don't know too many people that are doing as much business as they can possibly handle, because if you are, it's time to hire somebody. One way or another, look for ways to do the unexpected for your customers and for your fellow associates, and be creative. Be creative. It's not always just about bringing in lunch for the day. What can you do that's unexpected that's going to create a surprise and delight environment? Talk to the people around you. They get it. The other thing I would strongly suggest is retail tends to begin a little earlier for the holiday season every year. This year I expect it's going to be beginning in about a week and a half. Shop around. Go to the highest end mall, not necessarily because of the dollars, but because of the luxury experience, go to the highest end shopping area around you anywhere, and go store to store and see what they're doing. If you steal one idea, it's plagiarism. If you steal a whole bunch, it's research. So get out there and figure it out. See what other people are doing, and then figure out how to make it adapt for you. You don't have to do it exactly the way they're doing it, but look for the surprise and delight experiences that will work best for you, and make it work. Be creative. It can't just be about the same old thing. And every salesperson knows about this one, right? Whenever you're at a total loss for words, just say ho, ho, ho. I mean, Santa's got that one figured out. You know, you can't really see this cartoon very well, but Santa's coming down the chimney, and that's the menorah on the table. Get your own house. Anyway, what do you do when you step in? And we all do. Every one of us at some point or another gets in front of a situation where we just step in it and we say the wrong thing, and the whole thing just, oh, you know how it is, we squirm, right? So, what do you do? Well, you know what? It's hard to find the right thing to say sometimes, but what you have to remember is that competence, confidence, and a real passion can cure a whole lot of ills, not to mention a little bit of honesty. You can't be afraid to look somebody in the eye and say, that was the totally wrong thing to say, wasn't it? I am so sorry. Let's start this all over. And whatever it is. You know, we still have salespeople around that say, are you buying this for your wife? Or when's your baby due? That's a good one. I saw one of those just not long ago. I saw something like, oh, ouch. When that happens, just be sincere, be genuine, and communicate directly. Don't be afraid to get yourself out of it. You're going to save a sale and you're going to save a customer. And remember that good wishes and sincerity really are universal. Wishing somebody well, being very sincere. You gotta believe. From a sales standpoint, you gotta believe. If you're a salesperson and you don't believe, watch my time, and you don't believe that what you're doing is for the greater good, you don't believe that you're making a difference in people's lives, if what you believe is you're just a salesperson, you're not doing anybody any favors, including yourself. You gotta believe. Believe in yourself, first and foremost. Believe that you can do it. Whatever that goal is, you can not only achieve that goal, but you can blow it out of the water. Believe in your team. Trust the people around you. You know, taking that leap off the cliff and believing that that sleigh is going to fly, that's a big deal. Believe in your team and believe in the effort. Believe that what you're doing serves a purpose that makes a difference in people's lives. And one of the things I've loved about this business since the first time I sold a piece of jewelry at the age of 16 was that feeling in your gut that you're making a difference to someone. When I sold that, it was a pendant. It was a sterling silver pendant, the first sale I ever made. And all I could think of, and I was a kid, I didn't grow up around jewelry. I don't think I even had a piece of jewelry at that point other than a high school class ring. All I could think of was, I want to be the person that's getting this. This is so special. Do you really have that feeling? Do you believe that you're making a difference in somebody's life every day, every time you touch something? Because you are. And if you believe it, that atmosphere and that feeling and that whole attitude permeates everything that you do. And you change things. You change your environment. Now let's talk about Santa's lessons on leadership, because this is the last piece of this, and I think in many ways very, very much the most important. Coal in your stocking is not a bad thing, especially this time of year. If you got coal in your stocking this time of year, and you put the right heat and pressure on it, that's what you end up with. It's not such a bad thing. See, we're under a lot of pressure this time of year. The heat's turned up real hot. But if you're starting with the right raw material, that heat and pressure turns you into something really beautiful. Don't be afraid of it. Tradition is very important. As a leader, respecting the traditions of the people around you becomes very important as well. Do you really know what they are? If you've been working with a team for any length of time, how much do you really know about what their family and holiday traditions are? What about sharing that as a team? Does that make a good topic for a store meeting coming up? A team sales meeting? Everybody gets to talk about their family holiday traditions. Why would that be important? Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, it shows that you respect people's traditions. And secondly, the more everybody knows about each other, the easier it is to work together as a team and to figure out how to best help each other when things get a little tight. Respect existing rituals that are still worthwhile in your store as well. What are the things you've done in the past during the holidays that still make sense? Because I've already told you earlier pretty much to pitch everything, that you pitch the old stuff. But what are the parts that still make sense? What are the things that you should hang on to from a tradition standpoint? What are you known for in your community? Do you sponsor an event every year in the holidays that you've done forever and ever? Don't pitch it, figure out how to make it useful. Figure out how to do it better. If it's things that you're known for, if it's things within your store that you've done every year, that holiday party that you have, maybe you don't dump it, maybe you figure out a way to do it more cost effectively, if that's an issue. Or if things are going real well, maybe you figure out how to make it extra special. Look for the things that are still worthwhile. Modify the traditions that need it. Look for ways to change what needs changing within your business, and turn good ideas into new traditions. What are you learning new that can become a tradition for your store? What's happening in your market? What's happening with your customer? What are the new things that represent holiday traditions in your store going forward that can make a big difference? Look for them and ask for them. Leaders, know if you're being naughty or nice. Pay attention to your own behavior. That's the hardest thing. It's real easy to make the naughty and nice list for everybody else. But how do you make sure you stay on the nice list? Recognize your own performance issues. I always love walking into a store and talking to a team that's kind of having problems. And the dysfunctional store team, I get called for that a lot. And I'll walk in and I'll talk to every person. And what's really hilarious is that every person can point out what everybody else is doing wrong. But if you're pointing out what everybody on the team is doing wrong, except for you, of course, and you're pointing out what everybody on the team is doing wrong, she's already told me what you're doing wrong, you're telling me what she's doing wrong, she doesn't believe she's doing anything wrong, you don't believe you're doing, you see what I mean? I can say this as I grew up in this environment. I swear this is not racist, this is not nationalist or anything else. My father used to call it the Polish firing squad. I come from a Polish family. And he called it the Polish firing squad. That was when we all stood in a circle and aimed. Because everybody was complaining about everybody else. And nobody was stepping up and taking responsibility. Don't do that. Recognize your own performance issues. Commit to changing those things that you personally can change to do better, and be a leader. Be a leader. And be good for goodness sake. Do things just because they're the right thing to do. That's how you earn respect. When you do something because it's simply the right thing to do, not because somebody told you to do it, not because there's a payback on the other end, that's how you earn respect with the people around you. And you set an example as a leader that changes your environment. Salespeople, employees, you got to respect guidelines, but you also have to be accountable. Be accountable for yourself and accountable for what you do. Make choices that make sense. And remember that everything counts. Everything that you do, everything that you do every day, every action that you take makes a difference to someone. So do it well and be good. It takes no extra time to do something extraordinarily well in most cases, and it does just to do it okay. If you really think about it, you better not cry and you better not pout. We get a question all the time, how are stores doing out there? What's going on in the business world? What's going on in the industry? My answer is always the same. There's some stores that are doing ridiculously well and over the top and really doing very, very well. And then there's some stores that are just struggling and having a real hard time and just not making it and having a real issue. And the question I always get is, well, what's the big difference between the stores that are doing really well and the stores that are not? Not 100% true, but it's true in a lot of cases. My answer is the level of whining I hear when I walk in the door. You walk into a store that's doing really, really well, nobody's whining about anything. So the question becomes, is the whining because they're not doing well, or are they not doing well because they're whining? What could you be doing with that energy? What could you be doing with all the energy that you put into wondering and complaining about the economy and the traffic and the this and the that? What if that energy was put to good use? Creative use, looking for ways to drag people in the door. It could make a big difference. Whining begets whining. Leaders, if you're the one that's doing the whining, you can't expect everybody around you to do anything any different. So pay attention. Keep your head up. Even if you're worried about things, even if you're concerned about things. The more positive you can stay, the more positive the people around you will be. Choose your words carefully. Look for the solution rather than at the problem. We love to look at problems. Easy to identify them. We can all make a laundry list of everything that's wrong. But if we spend as much time looking for solutions as we do looking at problems, we'd have a lot fewer problems. Always encourage people to believe in you. Everybody has the capability to be a leader. You don't have to run the place to be a leader. It doesn't have to be your name over the door. You don't have to be a manager. Some of the best leaders I know have nothing to do with management. Leaders have voluntary followers. People follow you because they respect you. Always encourage people to believe in you. You've got to inspire confidence. How do you inspire confidence? By believing in yourself. If you're going to encourage people to believe in you, you've got to start by believing in yourself, because that's how you earn trust. If you believe in yourself and you're committed to doing this right, you're committed to the passion that you have for this industry and for your customers, you'll inspire confidence and you'll earn the trust of the people around you. And probably the most important lesson of all is always deliver, so they never regret believing. If the goal is to inspire people, if the goal is to encourage people to believe in you because you believe in yourself, you have a responsibility to deliver. Because if you deliver, they can't regret believing in you. And the better your team, the more effort you put into inspiring that level of commitment on the part of every person in your team, the more successful you're going to be. If you have a group of people, an entire group of people who have a tremendous passion for what they're doing, they have the innovative environment in which to do it, they have your support and they have your commitment and they believe in you, you're going to have an amazing holiday season because your customers are going to see the difference. Santa's got this figured out. Always encourage people to believe in you and always deliver. When does a kid quit believing in Santa? The first year the present they asked for doesn't show up. Right? Just think about that one. Everything you need to know about running a jewelry store, you learn from Santa. That should be your questions about the holiday season. What would Santa do? That should be your check. Put that question in the back of your mind. Whatever you're going to try to do, the question is, what would Santa do? Now, are the calendars on the tables? Or do you? Right. Do not leave the room. Okay, we have two people and a bunch of doors, so you got to go through the doors that are here or come up here. We said we had a calendar. Oops, a 3-month calendar for the holiday season and for preparation. Well, I decided 3 months wasn't long enough. I gave you a 4-month calendar. It starts now and runs through the end of December. All right? You're going to be here. Let's assume you're going to be here for the whole show. You're going to be here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I don't know, 4 days. Let's say you're going to be here for 4 days. You have a choice. Every one of you has a choice. At the end of 4 days, you can walk out of here simply 4 days older, or you can walk out of here with every ounce of good idea, wonderful enthusiasm, re-energized passion that you can put together. And if you can do that and share it with all the people around you who are in your store who are not here, then you're going to be on something. So our calendar starts right now, today, challenging you to take down every good idea you can find. Leave nothing behind. Leave no piece of valuable information behind. This is all a gift. You're investing your time, your effort, and your energy to be here. So take every bit of everything you can, and then take it back. The last thing you should be doing on your way out of here is planning the first meeting you're going to have when you get back. With everybody on your team for how you're going to put to use all these great ideas. Then you need to be having a training meeting, literally a staff training meeting. I don't care if you have 3 people or if you have 50. A staff training meeting every week between now and the holidays. Between now and December 15th, don't miss a week. We can't do training during that time. Yes, you can. Of course you can. Well, you know what we tell you to do after the 15th? After the 15th, you can give up your 1-hour meetings, provided that every day you do a 10-minute recharge before you open your doors. Some stores call it the daily 10, some stores call it the 10 to 10, call it whatever you want, but a 10-minute recharge every single day to get everybody up and moving and focus on what has to happen for the day. There's lots of suggestions in those calendars. You don't have to do them on the day necessarily. But our goal was to try to make sure you didn't forget too much in the process and just put things on the calendar in an appropriate time frame for you to get a lot of things done that you might miss otherwise. Does anybody have any questions? Cindy, how am I doing for time?
Cindy, how's she doing for time? She's asking you. Does she have any time left?
Time?
Keep going.
5 minutes? All right, 5 minutes. Thank you. Questions? None? I left 5 minutes at the end of a presentation and nobody's going to talk to me? That doesn't ever happen, people. If there's anything further you want to know, anything more, if you'd like a copy of the presentation, please just leave me a business card right here. We'll be happy to take care of it for you. I've got some of my cards here. I'll be all over the show floor, but Performance Concepts has a space at number 400, I believe. If you don't find me there, I'll be down at the Palladium Lines at 12:05. Bam. Yes?
You've given a lot of information. What I'd like to know is, you own the shoulders. What would become the one thing you would concentrate on?
Rally the troops, eliminate negativism, and make sure everybody is positive and confident about everything that they're doing, which basically means I'm getting my team together and I'm working specifically on my team every minute I have, every opportunity, and no less than one training meeting a week. Rally the troops. Sorry? No, it's rally the troops. And that's all fell under that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.